Let's face it, managing a CRM is a drag. But what if I told you that this could be done effortlessly? I'm going to show you how to use Notion as your CRM with the least amount of friction possible. Meaning that there is no copy pasting and you can add people to your CRM in Notion with just one click. Can be, right? Well, let me show you. Here in the center, I have companies, people, and meetings. And then if I want to create a new contact, I'll just create this button, new person, and fill out all of the fields. Select the right status for the contact, add a related company, create a new meeting. And if we scroll down a little bit, I have my sales pipeline over here. But I think the coolest part is the fact that I can just go ahead and add a person from LinkedIn to that CRM with just one click. Check this out. Let's view this page. So we have the company created, and if you click on the person over here, here we have the information that comes from LinkedIn, from the profile page. The link to this template and all of the automations are down below in the description. Now let me show you how I've built this template so you can customize it to work your way. Here's the game plan. We're going to have 3 types of databases: people, companies, and notes. All of them are going to be interconnected. And the first question that comes to mind is, how do we want to structure our CRM? Well, if my CRM is personal and I just want to keep track of my relationships, then we're going to make it centered around people. On the other hand, if we have a business, if we're doing deals, if we're tracking partnerships, then the CRM needs to be centered around companies. We first find the company that we potentially want to work with, and then we figure out who works at those companies that we need to reach out to so that we can close them as a potential client. So if you're building a CRM just to manage your personal contacts, or if you're a freelancer, then you might not even need to have companies database. For my use case, this is where I'm going to start. I want to track companies that I'm interested in and then build the rest of the things around it. Let's go ahead and turn this block into a database. So I'm going to turn this block into a page first. Let's click on it. Let's click on table over here and create a new database that is called companies. Now I can click on these 3 dots, click on properties, and start creating properties for the company. I'm going to delete this guy. Let's add their website, company on LinkedIn, quick description, size, then funding. And finally, I want to know when I added this company to our CRM, so date created, and then date edited, the last time I interacted with this database. Finally, and probably the most importantly, we're going to add a status property. So a typical customer lifecycle goes as following. Everybody starts out as a lead, then they become a marketing or sales qualified lead, and then your salespeople work on it. And from an opportunity, if you do a fantastic job, well, they become a customer. And if your fulfillment team or if your product is amazing, they become an evangelist. They're raving fans talking about your product all over the place. So I want to create status properties that will reflect exactly this, but I'm going to add a few more things in between. For example, here, instead of not started, I'm going to say identified. If I do lead prospecting myself, I go out there on LinkedIn and find companies that can be potentially interesting. I want to be able to add them to my CRM extremely quickly without doing too much research. But the research part is extremely important, and this is where I'm going to call it qualified. I'm going to call this status property qualified, and it's going to be right after identified. So I first identify potential interesting companies, and then I'm going to qualify them. I'm going to look at their funding. I'm going to look at how good their product is, if they're interesting to deal with. And if they are, I'm going to move on to this in progress stage, and this stage I'm going to call approaching. So this is when you are doing your first outreach. You'll find specific people that you want to hit up and you send that first email. And if you did a great job there, you probably schedule a call. So it's going to be a discovery stage. This is the first call. And then after the discovery call, we're going to have the proposal stage, or the second call. This is when you do your sales or do some additional digging. Let's change the color to yellow. Okay, then they become customers, or they become lost, or they don't, so we'll lose those opportunities. And I'll add the archived status so that I can just move everybody who is not qualified to this folder. Let me clean this up, and that's our company's database. Now let's lay out the information in the most convenient way possible, and this is going to be using the board view. Let's call it deals. Click on done. By the way, you can also change this icon. For example, the $sign, perfect. And now when you want to add a new company that's potentially interesting, you just click on new, give it a name, such as Bardeen, and there you have it. But in this board view, I don't have additional properties that I was asked to fill out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to properties, and as you can see, all of the fields are right now hidden, and I'm going to add company, I'm going to add funding as well, and the company size. This is going to be good enough for me to look at a glance of a prospect I'm talking to. Now, if you click on edit, you have all of this information. Let's add the email. I can add funding, and then the size, say. Now comes the big question: how do I add information to this company's database in the most effortless and easy way? Well, I can go on LinkedIn, where I'm going to be doing my prospecting, and just copy paste different fields, or I can use automations to get it done for me. Let me show you this automation that is made possible with Bardeen, the browser extension to automate your day-to-day workflows. This automation is called LinkedIn Company Data to LinkedIn. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. Okay, there we have it. And now I can go on LinkedIn and find the company that I'm interested in and get it added to my CRM with one click. From here, all I need to do is click on the extension icon, find our automation and click on it. And here the first argument is to select a database. Our database is called companies. And if I scroll up a little bit, I get to see how data is going to be mapped between Bardeen scraper that extracts information from that page to our database in Notion. So this is usually done automatically, but you need to make sure that this is done accurately. For example, here we have industry and funding that was done inaccurately. So I'm going to delete this field and all of the rest of the fields that I do not need. So the name of the company is going to be company name, headline description. There's company size. I'm going to select size, address, phone number, website, LinkedIn. This is perfect. And I think this is going to be good enough for me. You only need to do this once on the first go, the first time you run this automation. After you click on remember inputs, and all of the information is going to be saved about how you map the fields, the database you're using, so you can use this automation with one click. Let's click on save and run this playbook. Okay, just like this, the page was added over here. And as you can see, the information is right there. Stellar, this is exactly what I was looking for. Now let's add a couple more companies. I'm going to open Bardeen with a shortcut, Option B, click on discard, and boom, now it's done as well. Boom, there we have Tesla with all of the information. Next up, let's set up the people database. This is the most interesting part. So we've identified a few companies that we're interested in. Now we can source people. Or if you're building a personal CRM, this is going to be your centerpiece. So I'm going to turn this people block into a page. Click on it, create a table view, call it people. Create some properties. I've created all of the essential properties such as email, phone number, their LinkedIn profile, created time, and edited time. Now here comes a very interesting part, which I highly recommend you to do. Let's sort people into lists. This is how most CRMs work because they allow you to classify and categorize things a lot more easily. So I want people to be potentially a part of multiple lists. So I'm going to use this multi-select property and call it list. And for my personal CRM, I usually have folks like entrepreneur. I can have a CMO property, for example, or a software engineer. This way I can sort contacts way more easily. Now we need to add this people database to our deals or companies database. I'm going to create a relationship property over here and point at companies. Make sure to toggle this guy on so that information shows up inside companies and you see the relationship both ways. It's going to be called people, cool. I'm going to click on add relationship. And finally, when we do contacts outreach, we'll have different statuses as well. So I'm going to add a status property for contacts too. So let's click on status. I've created slightly different types of properties for contacts. We have identified, then approaching when you send that first email, replied when they had some sort of an interaction with you, then call scheduled, and once you had a call and people actually show up on that call, you become connected to them and you can develop this opportunity later on, or they can be a lost contact. For example, you didn't have a good interaction, or if they kind of fell through the cracks somewhere along the way, you just archive them and move on to other cool people that you can be in touch with. I'm going to clean up this view a little bit. Let me move status to the very beginning, and I'm going to turn this into a checkbox view because it's going to be way easier for me to see everything at a glance. And then I want to sort all of my contacts by when was the last time I interacted with them, which is going to be here, last edited, and it's going to be descending. Okay, let's cross it off. Let's add an icon. You probably already guessed this already, but yes, there is a way to add people to this CRM with one click. You can do it from LinkedIn, you can do it from Crunchbase, from Facebook, from Instagram, from pretty much anywhere on the web. So there are only two actions for us to build an automation like this. Many of the automations are already pre-built, but the first action is going to extract information from the currently open page. It's called the scraper action. And then we'll need to create a new page inside Notion and map the data between the two actions. So for this use case, I'm going to show you how to add LinkedIn profiles to this CRM. Let's open up the browser extension and let's find this automation in search. Okay, there I have it. Copy LinkedIn profile to a Notion database. I'm going to pick the people database and map the data fields like I did the last time. Click on remember inputs and run this automation. Let's check out this page. And there we have all of the information. There's this other version that will create both people and companies from a person's LinkedIn profile page. I'm also going to leave it down in the description. Do try it out. It's awesome. We have our third database to create, and that's our meeting notes database, where we're going to be taking notes as we have phone calls with people. So let's go ahead and do this. You already know the drill, so I'm going to speed it up. I'm actually going to call it meetings instead. Relate the database to a particular person. Make it both ways. Add a date, and that's pretty much it. You can also create some really cool templates over here so that you have an outline for a meeting. I'm going to just copy paste my favorite meeting template in here. Okay, there we have it. We have the objective of the meeting, the agenda, so that we cross off every single thing that people need to talk about, some meeting notes that go over here, and resources, any links to, I know, Google Drive that you want to add there can go in there, and then some follow-up items. This comes after you have the meeting, of course. You can just jot it down right there. And finally, what you can do, because Notion now has artificial intelligence as a part of it, you can add another property, call it AI Summary over here. Okay, and let's run it on this page. Cool. It's the perfect template for my needs. Now we have everything that we potentially need for meetings. Finally, we've done the legwork. We've built the databases. We have companies, people, and meetings. And now what I want to do is I want to create a beautiful view where managing contacts and finding the right information is effortless. Let's go ahead and do exactly this. And it's just laying out information. And frankly, this is probably the most important and the least practiced step, because without making these databases easy to work with, you're not going to stick to it and you're not going to have fun filling the information out to build relationships. So we're going to make this a full width page so that we can have more data in here. And I'm going to create a call out block. Let's change the icon to databases. Okay, like this. Let's call this resources. Select our databases and drag them in there. Okay, that's part number one. Part number two, I'm going to create a new call out block, just like the one before. Drag it to the right over here. So we have two columns, one with resources. The other one is going to have different tabs with information already pre-rendered. Let's pick an icon. Yeah, this one, because why not? Inside this callout block, I want to create a linked database, okay? Link view to a database. And since the primary part of our CRM is companies, we're going to add companies over here. I have table view and I have this board view. So I'm going to pick table view for just the overview, just like this. Change the layout a little bit. I want to remove the database title over there. I'll also remove the wrapping so that everything is just a little bit nicely organized. Let's call this deals at the $sign. And then I'm going to drag this database over here. Here's the beautiful part. You can actually have multiple databases as tabs. You just click on this plus icon, select people, then choose that tabular view over there. Let's change that layout. Change the size of the columns a little bit. And let's name this tab people. Okay, with this icon. Finally, I'll do the same for meetings. Let's add a counter in all of these so we know how many items we have in each one. Looks like we're getting somewhere. Now the final touch, I want to create a button to create a new deal, a new person, or a new meeting so that when I come to this CRM page, I can just add data extremely easily. And for that, we're going to create another callout block. Let's throw it on top of the resources block. I'm going to add the plus icon over here and call it quick add. Okay, and now we need to create a button. When clicked, it's going to open up a new page created inside a specific database. Here's a really cool thing. It's actually a new feature that Notion has just released. If you scroll down, there we have button. It literally says new next to it. So let's create a button. You probably have never created buttons. I haven't created buttons until very recently. And this button is going to be called a new company, for example. Okay, and then we're going to add a step. It's going to add a page to the company's database over here. You can pre-fill out some of the data over here, but then I'm going to add a follow-up step, and that follow-up step is going to open that page so we get to fill out all of the fields. Open page. There are three options over here. It can be from a side, it can be over the screen, over the current screen, or it can be as a separate full screen page. So I'm going to pick center peak over here. This is the one I need. I need to select which page needs to be opened. Here, new page edit. So these two are related. Let's click on done. Let me drag it over here and let's go ahead and test it because why not? New company, that's it. We can say SpaceX, great SpaceX. They send humans to space. Okay. You can fill out the funding and everything else. Here's a quick adjustment that I want to make to this layout. I want to hide this created time and make it always hide so it doesn't obstruct the view. I'll hide a few more fields that I do not need. Okay, and now let's do the exact same thing, but for the people's database. I'm going to duplicate this button and just reconfigure it. We're going to call it new person. Change the database to people, and that's pretty much it. Let's click on done and try to create a new person. Let's call this person Elon Musk. Let's reshuffle the fields a little bit. Check out this trick. So for companies, because we're going to have a relationship to a company called Tesla or SpaceX, what I can do is I can have this field show up somewhere else. When you right click on companies, you'll have show as and then page section over here. And now it doesn't show up here at the top. We can have it show up here as a company. So we can add, for example, Tesla, and we can add SpaceX. And now we have the data show up over here, and you can also pull up some additional fields from those databases. For example, the company website or what the company does. Boom, there we have it. Okay. Or their size or their funding. I'm going to remove description, and this looks pretty good to me. I have all of the information I will need. I'm going to do the exact same thing for meetings. Let's create a page section, add meetings, call it demo meeting. And here, let me ask artificial intelligence to fake meeting notes with Elon Musk. I'm going to hit on space and say, write out meeting notes for a conversation with Elon Musk about sending people to Mars. Okay, sounds good. Let's hit enter. Okay, their meeting notes, exactly what I was looking for. Awesome. And there we have the summary. Super cool. By the way, this is a premium feature. So if you edit this property, here you'll need to toggle on auto update on this page. And then this one is going to cost $10 per month. It's pretty neat. I don't use it as much, but you can if you want to. That's an option. And let's add a new meeting button. Duplicate. I also want to select that template for meetings that we've created earlier. Click on done. And again, let's test out the button. New meeting. Boom. Here we have the template. Super cool. Exactly what I need. The final brush stroke would be to have the most important information at the very top of the page so that everybody on the team knows what we're optimizing for, where we are in our sales cycle with different companies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this board view for deals at the very top so that we have all of the information. / linked view to a database. Let's do companies. Let's select this board view. Style it a little bit. Let's hide the fields that are not very relevant. I actually do not like this view. Let's move it to the bottom. Create a page cover. Let's add a neutral background, add an icon, and that's it. It's time for us to put this CRM to the test. So we're going on LinkedIn, we'll find the person that we're interested in, Option B shortcut, and let's run this automation that will create both the profile for a person and the company inside our Notion database. Takes one click. Okay, there we have it. So when we go back to our Notion database, here we have Mark Benioff profile and the company created with all of the information. Now, if we want to have, say, a meeting with Mark, we can click on new meeting with one click and say, hey, we want to have a meeting with Mark. Let's select Mark. And now use artificial intelligence to create a meeting agenda with Mark Benioff. Now, once we had the meeting with Mark, we can just move Salesforce from identified to discovery call, for example, then to proposals, and finally, because we did such a phenomenal job maintaining the CRM, to a customer. Thanks for watching. Links to this exact template and all of the automations that I've shown you in this video are down below, so go ahead and check them out. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how to take your Notion game to the next level, how to automate those manual repetitive tasks, well, we've created an incredible resource that contains over 100 Notion automations that you should absolutely check out. There's a dedicated video about that. Click on this card next to watch it.